valid. It is all about initialization. Right. Now, next important is when you are dealing with array manipulations are same. There is no change. Array methods are same. That means push, pop, shift, unshift, splice. So index of, last index of, all array methods are same. There is no change in array method. Only the difference is about declaration. Declaration and assignment of values. Assignment, initialization, declaration. That is only the change. In JavaScript, we don't have these many restrictions. In JavaScript, array can store anything. You can initialize anything, you can assign anything. In a constructor, you can do, in a meta character, you can do, but here limits. Constructor have a different behavior of initialization. Meta character have a different behavior of initialization. And all array methods are same as in JavaScript. So there is no change. Sorting, filtering, finding, adding, removing, everything is same. No change. Only the way of declaring, initializing is important here. So this is array. Next important, in your JavaScript, you learned how to handle an object. Now, how you deal object here? How you deal with object here? How you define an object here? Let's see. And you know what is the purpose of object? Purpose of object is to keep all related data and logic together. You can keep all related data and logic together using an object. Object is a key and value collection, right? So, but what is problem in JavaScript is JavaScript objects are schemaless, structureless. JavaScript objects are schemaless, structureless. They don't have structure. Unstructured data, actually. For example, object you define in a block, you will have a key and you will have a value. This we already know. And what a value can be? Anything. Primitive type, non-primitive type, or it can be even a function. It can be even a function also. Now, why it is called schemaless, structureless? Because suppose we defined something like we define where product is equal to object. In the object, we define name. So this is name. And we define price. And this is price. We initialized a name as string and price as number. Now, into the product price, if I send TV, it is valid, it will take. It is valid, it will take. That's not a great thing. You know, JavaScript, it will take. There is no restriction here. That means actually price must be number, but it doesn't matter. JavaScript will take anything. It doesn't matter. That means there is no restriction for this type that you define. It is structureless actually. Structureless is not about just type. Later, when I am using product, for example, suppose you are dealing with, this is one problem actually. Suppose when you are dealing with a collection of objects, array of objects, it is name and it is TV and it is price and some price, like this we define. Second object can be title, that is mobile, and cost, and it can be something like this. This is valid. That is valid actually, but that is completely structureless. That means in one record, field name is title, in another record, field name is name. Is it possible like that? Of course, you saw in MongoDB now. It is possible. Every record can be individual, every document can be individual. And not only this, that means this can have some rating, but first one is not having rating. Second one is having rating, uneven number of content. It is possible. This is structureless and not strongly typed. That is the problem with objects in JavaScript. What is speciality about TypeScript is TypeScript defines a schema for object. It can define a schema for object, a structure for object. So object can be used with that structure only. That means TypeScript object is configured with a schema which defines the structure of object, which defines the structure of object. JavaScript object is schemaless, is structureless. JavaScript object is schemaless. So due to that, lot of inconsistent data will be there. Inconsistency in data. But TypeScript object is configured with a schema. Structure you have to define. That means syntactically, how you declare an object here is let obj object colon, in the curly brace you have to define the schema, then equal to, according to the schema only it should be designed now. So this is design according to schema. That's the point. Actually, in JavaScript, this schema is not there. That means the structure is not there. When the structure is not there, this design can have anything. In that you can store anything. But now the design should be according to the structure. What structure you defined, it should be according to the structure. That means how do you do that? That means simply LET product is an object. What is the schema for this? Schema refers to what fields you need, what type it should be. So I want name, what type string, comma price, what type number. Like this you have to define. Now the data can be only this. That means you cannot have any another type of data. And remember, in the structure, what is configured, only that you have to define. You miss anything in the structure or you add anything which is not in the structure, it will not accept. It will not accept. That means you cannot miss any content in the structure. You cannot add which is not in the structure. You cannot add anything which is not in the structure. That means here you can see the point is here LET product, and actually for this product there is no restriction earlier. That means we have name TV, so price, some string, some ABC, something like this, and stock as 0. You can have anything, but I want a clean structure for this. Then here you can configure the type schema. In that, I want name as a string type. I want price as a number type. I want stock as a boolean type. That's how we define. Now price and stock are invalid. Why price and stock? And one more, I want rating as number type. Suppose you can have an object in object also, I will tell you. Now observe here, first one satisfied. Price is a number, but you are not defining as a number. String is not allowed. Okay, we will assign a number into this. Okay, stock is a boolean. Stock is a boolean. You are using a number, then we will put a boolean. Okay, now product have a error. Why? Because missing missing rating. Because in the structure rating is mentioned, and in your implementation there is no rating, it's not valid. That means we cannot skip anything and we cannot add extra. We cannot skip anything, so rating should be a number. And after that, city I am adding as a string Hyderabad. It's not allowed, because it says that object literal can specify only known properties, and city doesn't exist in the type. So you cannot add anything and you cannot ignore as of now. But later you can make any field optional. You can make any field optional. That means, for example, rating is optional because rating will be given only when anybody purchased it. If nobody purchased, nobody rated, then rating will not be there. So for some products, rating will not be there. Some products rating will be there. Then how you make rating as optional? Suppose I am not using rating, then it shows error. It shows the error. Error says that rating is missing. But we have to tell that rating is there, but it is optional. Then we have to use the word rating with question mark. That is a null reference character. You know, question mark is a meta character. What is question mark? 0 or 1 occurrence. 0 or 1 occurrence is the meta character, question mark. Plus means 1 or more occurrence. Asterisk means 0 or more occurrence. Question mark means 0 or 1 occurrence. But actually, this is called null reference character. Null reference character allows you to configure an optional property. Optional property. That means this is not mandatory to implement. It is not mandatory to implement. And remember, it is not just a number. If you want, you can make it again object type. That means it should be an object with the rate as number and a count also as what? Number. That means if you are implementing, if you are not implementing, fine. But if you are implementing, what you have to do? You have to put rating. Rating as what type? Object. And it is showing error because according to that two are missing inside it. What are missing? Rate and count. So we have to write rate is how much and count is how much. Then it is valid. Then it is valid. That is how we configure an object in TypeScript. So TypeScript objects are strongly typed. They are structured. They are not schemaless, right? And here some important things you should know. So that is one point. This is how you configure. Okay. Another important is the schema defined for object can have optional properties. Can have optional properties. So the optional properties are defined using a null reference character, that is question mark. Using a null reference character, that is question mark. Schema defined for object can have optional properties. Optional properties are defined using null reference character question mark. That means syntactically, so let product is having name, price, rating, question mark, number, like this. So in this, rating is optional. That means in this we have name, we have price, and rating. But what is the point is this is optional. You can skip. You can have multiple optional properties inside it. Right. That is one important. Actually, here you have one more thing. Later you will see that. Now, suppose we are having this optional. How to handle an optional one, you know? That means how we can print it if it is defined. How to skip it if it is not defined. If rating is not defined, don't print rating. If rating is defined, then you have to print rating. How you know whether it is defined or not? You already learned in JavaScript, you will verify using undefined. If value is undefined, that means don't print. If it is defined, then print. Optional features. Optional means they are referred with undefined. They are referred with undefined. That means how you write in a logic. If product dot rating, what does this means? Product dot rating, what does it means? It means that if rating is defined, if rating is defined, then you print all the detail. Otherwise, you don't print the detail. That means what we do, console dot what log. We are having a name And what is the name? Product dot name slash n. We have a price, and the price is product dot price, and slash n stock is product dot stock, and slash n rating. Rating is what? So here product dot rating dot rate, and in the square we have product dot rating dot count. That's we define when it is there. The same we will put an else. Then in this we don't print the rating. The product rating is not printed, because if it is not defined, then we don't print it. We print only up to stock. If rating is defined, it will print it. If it is not defined, it will not print it. So I will open CDSRC, and here first what you do, transcompile. Transcompile. What is it? Index.ts. After that, node index.js. It will print rating. And if rating is not defined, that means the rating is not defined here. Because it is an optional one, they can skip it. I will transcompile again and run again. Then without rating, it will print. Otherwise, what it will do, undefined, undefined, it will return. That means here, one of the key point you should know is the optional fields, the optional properties written undefined. If they are not configured, they return undefined if they are not configured. The optional properties return undefined if they are not configured. So you have to verify whether defined or not. Based on that, you need to implement. So this is an example. Let me copy this example. I will copy this example just to understand how we deal with that. Right. Now this is one point about rate. Next important one more is, suppose what we are doing here is we are mentioning the rating and all. Okay. We are mentioning the rating and also we have a rate as number and count as number. Okay. Now here generally in TypeScript, whenever you configure a property, the properties can be optional. That's okay. The property can be read only also. A property can be configured as read only. Now, what is read only properties are nothing but read only properties will not allow to assign a value after initialization. What you initialize, that is fixed. You cannot assign anything. For example, you see now here, before printing into the product name, I am passing Samsung TV. It is okay, allowed, because name is not a read-only property. But into the product price, I am passing a different price. It's not allowing. That means once you initialize, you cannot assign anything into it. That means read-only will not allow assigning of new values. It will allow only initialization of values, will not allow in assignment. You can't modify that, fix it. That means what you mentioned in the initialization, the same will be used. You cannot assign. Generally, the value in a property of any object can be assigned any number of times. You can assign any number of times, but it will not allow if you mark it as read only. You cannot use this read only in your JavaScript. JavaScript will not support this read only. That means you can have read only properties. You can configure a property. That means it is saying that I cannot assign price because it is read only. So, but you can assign name. You see now we will transcompile this and run this, and you can see that name is changed to Samsung TV. But price you cannot because it is marked as read only. You can mark multiple read only. You can mark multiple optional. That depends, right? So there is one more new thing about the properties here. Another new thing about the properties is the object property. The object property can be configured as read only, can be configured as read only. A read only property, a read only property, a read only property, read only property will not allow assignment of value. You can only initialize. You cannot allow, it will not allow assignment of value. You can only initialize. The object property can be configured as read only. So whenever you configure the properties, they can be read only. So syntactically, product is an object, name is string. So read only price is a number. That's how we define. Now in this name, price, some price. Now product dot name is equal to, this is valid, is equal to some value. So this is not valid, invalid. You cannot assign to read only property. You cannot assign to read only property. That's important. You cannot assign to read only properties. So when you define the schemas, in the schema, you can make it as read only or you can make it as optional. That is a new point you should know here. Right. Now the question here is, generally in the objects, how you configure a function in an object. How do you define a function in an object? Because in JavaScript, object can have keys with the value, primitive type, non-primitive type. It can have a function also. That means how you configured that function. For example, let's say here I am copying this. Okay. And let's see another point here. That means how you define, how you configure the type of, let's write one program. So LET product is a structure having name, string, price, number, quantity, number. And it needs a total. And this total have to print the quantity into price. It should print the quantity into price. Then how you configure this total as a function? For example, I am defining a parenthesis here. And I am defining like this. What does it means? It means that it is a function expression. That's a function expression. Na? Total is what? Total is a function. Total is a function which will have a definition or which can return. Which can have a definition or it can return. Now the point here is actually this resembles a void function. This resembles a void function. Later I will tell you about functions because functions are little different here now. Once you know the functions, you can implement here. Later we will learn about function. Actually, this represents total is a void function actually. For example, see here. Here we are defining name is TV, price is number, and quantity is 2, and total. And you can see total. Total is a function. Total is a function. Generally, how you mention the total function? Total, we need to configure as a function. And what this function have to do? This function have to return this dot quantity into this dot price. That's what it should do. That means the quantity into price. That is how it should configure. Now, actually, this function total, you see it returns a number. Automatically, the type is defined. Actually, when you configured the function here, function type can be mentioned as void or number. Later, you will learn about them. But this is anonymous now. This is arrow technique, right? So now let's say here console.log. So we are printing the details here. So name is coming from product.name, and next line price is coming from product.price, and next line quantity is coming from product.quantity, and the total is coming from product.total. Product.total. Total is a function which returns the data. Now we are transcompiling and executing the result here. Then it shows the result perfectly here. How you configure a property to handle a function. That means you have to configure a property to handle function by defining in an arrows technique like this. What if instead of arrow technique, I make it as a function. So that means function. And without this, it's not allowed. A structure cannot have a definition. A structure can have only structure, architecture. That means you should tell what is its architecture. You should not tell what is its functionality. You should not tell what is the functionality. So you have to use through an arrow technique only, right? These you will learn in the OOP concept. What is contract? What is an structure, architecture, and what is structure definitions? We will learn. Initially, this is another point: is object can be defined with a function in the schema. Object can be defined with a function in schema, which is designated with the arrow technique, which is designated with arrow technique. Syntactically, product is an object, name, string, and just I will give total. Total is an function. That's how we configure. In this name is some TV, and total is a function, and this function have to return some functionality. It can have any definition. It can be void or it can return. It can be void or return. You can even put a rule later. You can put a rule later saying that it should return only number, or it should return only string. You can put such rules also. Rules can be there for a function also. There is another technique I will tell you. So that means we can design in another point also. Another concept is also there. So here, example, let me copy this. This is the example. That's the example. Now we have another point. What is another point? Another point is this total is a function. Then we mention this total as a function, and it should return, it should be void like this. That means you can configure like a function or a void, and you can put this as what type. It should return a number. You can define in this way, or you can even mention it should be a string. You see, when you mention it as a string, then immediately here error comes. It says your function is a number returning, but actually it is expected string. That means you can mention this as a number. That's also okay. This is good actually. That means it indicates that you can have you can have a function by name total. There are several ways of configuring the structure. That means now total is a function, it should be number. Now let's run this and see the same thing will work here also. Transcompile and run this, and it is going to handle the same. Right? This time you can make it as optional also if you want, question mark. It can be optional. Even you don't write, because if I don't make it optional, if I don't write total, then it is invalid. Product total missing. Then we make it as optional, then there is no problem. There is no problem. So you can have optional also configured for that. How do you define a function here? There is another technique of doing this. This, or we have another method. So or I will give another technique. What is it? LET product. So in that, name is a string and total is a method which should return a number. Like this, you can configure the structure. In that case, what it should do, it should return a number only. It can return a string only, or it can return any particular type. So that means you can keep this strongly typed in this way. So we can configure the structure of an object with both data and logic. Data and logic. For logic also, we can have a specific structure that it should return only string, it should return only number. We can put that. So the same thing, just we made some change. And that is the change how you configure for an object. This is the difference between JavaScript and TypeScript, right? And object manipulations are same. Object manipulation means what? How to read all keys, how to read all values, how to delete a key, how to find whether key present or not. All such concepts are same. You know, delete operator, in operator. So you used all the methods. Everything is same. That means object manipulation is same, but object configuration is different. Array manipulations are same, array configuration is different. That is about the object. Now next, another we have a map type. Map, regular expression, dates, how to handle them. That we'll see next session, right? And in next session, we will start OOP concept of TypeScript. Why? Because statements no change. Means if condition, for loops, they don't change. Operators no change. JavaScript operators, what you used, same operators here. The OOP concepts will change, functions will change. Functions, OOP concepts that we will see in next session. Tomorrow we'll do that. Okay.